Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. So I read in the Ring magazine, and I think other outlets are reporting it as well, that it might be in the works to get another episode of the 5v5 Matchroom v Queensberry. I'd read somewhere that there might have been a 5x5 talked about involving Boxer, but nothing has come of that. But a part 2 of the 5v5 Matchroom v Queensberry, though I guess it should now be Queensberry versus Matchroom, since Queensberry would be the A side, having won all 5 of the fights against Matchroom in their first 5v5. Even though Eddie Hearn went outside Matchroom and hired ringers, if you like. I think he brought Deontay Wilder on board. He wasn't a Matchroom fighter at the time. He might have brought somebody else on board as well. I don't recall. Anyhow, he still had his clock cleaned, as they say, and Queensberry wiped the floor with Matchroom. So no doubt Matchroom are looking to get some measure of revenge. And this is being touted as potentially happening in Riyadh, of course. I say of course, I mean, it shouldn't necessarily be of course, but it's being touted as taking place in Riyadh in August. And one of the fights that's being proposed is an all-British light heavyweight bout between Anthony Yarde, whose record at the moment is 27-3-0, and Callum Smith, 31-2-0. Now, that could be a good fight. I had thought that Callum Smith was kind of done before he fought Buatsi. In fact, I made a video here where I was talking about how Callum Smith was, you know, his best work had been done at lower weights. He was getting older. I think he's 35. Mondo is 35? 36 maybe? 35, I think. And more importantly, that his tools wouldn't be sharp. And I reiterated that statement on Porky's Corner with Russ. And of course, I was wrong, in capital letters, wrong, because Callum Smith came to fight and prevailed. Anthony Yarde, more recently, had a trilogy that nobody, I don't think, was wanting, and nobody was on no one's bingo card. He had the trilogy fight with Lyndon Arthur. So, I mean, this is all speculative, right? It's not happened yet. It's not signed. But if it were to be signed, I think I wouldn't be able to bet against Callum Smith, having foolishly said, "Oh, he's done. His tools aren't sharp. Best days are behind him. Yada yada yada." I dug myself a hole, got to the bottom, carried on digging. I don't think I would speak against Callum Smith now. I think it's fair to say that Callum Smith would come to fight. And after his win over Buatsi, I think he's got plenty left in the tank. I'm not going to say anything bad about him. Anthony Yarde, on the other hand, I don't really know what to say about Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde is a guy who, I think his career was on a certain trajectory, and he seems to have sort of scored a number of own goals in his career. His career hasn't really gone the way that many of us, myself included, would have thought that his career would have gone. I mean, that's not to say I'm not speaking ill of the man. It's just he hasn't done as well as many of us think he ought to have done. And I have to say that even though he beat Lyndon Arthur in the most recent outing, I can't say as I was like super impressed, to be perfectly honest. So should this fight take place, and I must emphasize, this is speculative. I'm reading it in the Ring magazine. I don't know if there's been a couple of other YouTube. I think G-Man has done something on it, if I'm not mistaken. Anyhow, it's far from inked. This is purely speculative. Yeah, I think I would be saying Callum Smith, because you never know what version of Anthony Yarde is going to show up, to be perfectly honest, do you? But Callum Smith impressed me last time out and made me look a fool and increased my bookie's bank balance. So, yay, Callum Smith, let's go. It happens this time. Let me know, what do you think? Is it a fight you'd like to see? And if so, who do you think, early doors, who do you think that you would be sort of favouring? And let me know, as importantly, maybe even more importantly, who would you like to see in the 5v5 lineup? Now, I think Frank has got a lock on pretty much the heavyweights. So, yeah, I mean, I think Uncle Frank has got by far the deeper bench to choose from. But let me know who you think. Who could make up Matchroom's 5 and who could make up Queensberry's 5. Could be fun. I liked the last one. I liked it a lot more than Eddie Hearn liked it, that's for sure. Anyways, please like, please share, please subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.